Everybody take a breath. We've been talking about vibration. Are you ready to hear some more about it? Yes. Okay. So in the beginning, our first service during March, we talked about everything vibrates and we worked on having some understanding about how we could shift our vibrations so that we could impact and create more consciously in our world. And then last week, we talked about claiming our consciousness, the baptism and the desert experience. And that, I'm sure, helped all of you think more clearly as you walk through the week. If you happen to miss either of those, they're on YouTube and you can watch them. They're lovely. So today we're talking about evolving consciousness. And you know, as we set forth the very first service, everyone has a consciousness. It's unique to you. It's your functioning level of awareness. It's the beliefs and ideas and truths that you hold, the love you hold, the energy you hold. It vibrates. And everyone is different. We're at different levels of being and awareness. So when we talk about evolving consciousness, we are literally talking about lifting. Spirit said, evolving consciousness is about holding a greater energy of God light within you and then becoming one with that God light so you begin to see with God eyes. So lifting into a higher consciousness. So every time we evolve to get more God awareness, more love into our being, and we see with more kind eyes, we've lifted into a higher level of consciousness. And so we keep doing that, don't we? We're supposed to lift. We're supposed to spiral upward. We're not supposed to stay where we are. It would be quite boring, wouldn't it? To stay where you are. Okay. All right. So we want to look at consciousness for just a moment through one of the parables that Jesus taught. And you all know why Jesus taught in parables. He taught in parables so that everyone could get something out of the story, no matter what level of consciousness they were at. So everyone could receive some meaning from the story. Remember, and he would tell his disciples, you have the language of the soul. You understand at a very high level. Those who do not understand at the level that they can, but everyone is hearing something positive. So Spirit asked me to work with the parable of the seeds this morning, and you may be familiar with it. How many are? The parable of the seeds? Oh, good, good, good. We have quite a crew. So I'm going to go through it real quickly. All right. He's talking about, this is on chapter 115, a sower who took his seed and went into the field, and with a lavish hand he scattered the seed. Some seed fell on the hardened path that men had made, and were soon crushed beneath the feet of other men. The birds came down and carried all the seeds away. Okay? Some seed fell on the rocky ground where there was very little soil, and they grew, but soon their blades did not get enough nourishment. There was no depth to the soil and no chance for them to be fed. And the heat of the noonday sun, they withered up and died. Some seeds fell where thistles grew and found no earth in which to grow, and they were lost. And other seeds found lodgment in the rich and tender soil, and they grew, and they brought forth a harvest. So we have the 4 different seeds, all right? Then Jesus explains to the crowd, this is the one time when his disciples said, and what does that parable mean? And Jesus said, okay, listen up, I'm going to tell everybody what it means. So he says this, the first seeds, the ones that were crushed beneath the path of men, they were going to be crushed beneath the feet of men. This is the path where the carnal life dominates, and this is the space of race consciousness. The seed was sown into a space where it had to deal with all of what had already been created by mankind. Imagine a seed being thrown in the road and cars driving over it. Okay, that's the symbolism of everything that has already been created by man does not allow this seed to grow. Got it? Say, I got it. Okay. The second seed, people hear the fiery words of life and they have a great zeal. And they seem to comprehend it well, and there's a lot of promise. But troubles come and discouragements arise, and there is no depth to the thought, and their good deeds wither up and die. These are the seeds that fell on stony ground that had no roots. So in our language, we would say, this is someone who is so committed and excited and buying every book they can find and praying and meditating, but when the challenges come, they tend to stop. And the challenge becomes bigger than who they are. So that's the second seed. And the third seed, the ones that were born in the thistle, others hear the word and seem to know their value, but the love of pleasure and reputation, wealth and fame fill the soil, and the seeds are not nourished and they die. This is the symbolism of growing with other plants that are more dominant. The thistles were more dominant than the seed. So they're in a field where they have to fight for attention, and it is the people who think it's a good idea, but when they look in their world, they cannot see how they're going to nourish it because everybody else is telling them that they really should grow like them instead of like the seed. Those are the three. Got it? The fourth, of course, is the seed that hears the word, believes the word, and hunkers down, goes deep into the soil, puts their roots out deep before they put the fruit out. How many of us want to put our fruit out first? But they take time to anchor deep, get anchored in their belief, and then they flourish. And then they are sustainable, they're renewable, they'll flourish every year. So those are the 4 seeds. So we could teach this as a parable of levels of consciousness, but it's also a parable of the evolution of consciousness. In this parable, we all find ourselves in every state. All of us do. We all are growing and holding on to these ideas that I am spirit, I am a child of God, I am a vibratory frequency of good. But then we find ourselves on the path of race consciousness, what has always been. And in that moment, we have to make a decision. And you know what some of us will say? Sure, I'll go on that path because my light's bright enough. I can handle the path of race consciousness. I'll just throw myself right in the thick of it, and I'm going to shine because that's what I do. And you do, and you get stepped on because you've left your world and you've moved into the world of another belief system. And the way of the world now dominates. Been there? Most of you have. That level of consciousness is experimenting with the light. It's experimenting. Can I have my cake and eat it too? Can I have both? It doesn't quite have the root system, does it? Then we move into the rocks. We move into the space where it's hard. The troubles come up against us. And we're trying to get our roots deeper, but the troubles are there. And how many metaphysical Christians during the time of trouble stop meditating? Stop talking to each other, stop asking for prayer, stop reaching out. It's all up to me now. When you're dealing with the rocks, it's all up to you. You hunker into those rocks and you forget to dig the roots deeper. You forget to reach out. You forget to reach out. Say, I've been there. And then the thistles. Woo, we are doing so good. We are shining. And everybody else is looking so much better than we are. Well, they got their dreams. Where are my dreams? Okay. I just got a new car. Where's my new car? And we start comparing ourselves to the people around us. And we start devaluing ourselves because of the people around us. And then what happens to our spiritual nature? It dries up, doesn't it? Been there? Been there. These are actual spaces of consciousness that we will all face. And you know what? You don't just face them once. You face them all the time. Evolution of consciousness is like a spiral rise or an elevator. They gave me the symbol of a ladder one time, the golden ladder climbing up. It is movement toward a higher sense of being. And at that higher sense of being, you meet new challenges, don't you? And you will meet new beautiful things that somebody has and you don't. And you will meet the world telling you you can't do that. I'm going to run over you. You're going to meet all of these challenges again and again and again. But think about the one that thrives, the consciousness that thrives. It's the consciousness that is in a healthy space surrounded by its own healthy people. It's in the field where it is growing with others, and its roots are deep, and it's watered. I want you to feel with me just those rounding energies of consciousness. Jesus said, if you are truly committed in your soul, you will trod the path where mankind trods, and you will be the one that grows off to the side that no one steps on. You'll be fine there. You will also be right in the middle of the rocks, and you'll be the only one getting food. Right in the middle of the rocks, you'll be the one getting the rain, you'll be the one getting the food. Because the commitment is there. When the thistles arrive, you will realize that you don't need to be like other people. And then the ultimate goal, you move into that beautiful space where you are with like-minded people on every level. Been there? Okay. When we find ourselves surrounded by like-minded people and like energy, this is when we feel that we can thrive. This is when we feel we can thrive. Do you ever feel that when you walk in the doors here that you're safe? That you can put your roots down a little deeper than you did a minute ago? That you can breathe in the light a little bit more? At InnerQuest, this is what we hope to create here. This field. We want a field. We want to be the field where beings can come and plant the Christ and grow their Christ in a space that is safe, that nothing is demanded or asked of them. There are no rules. And that is what the energy that we have been trying to create is here. But does that mean we're going to be perfect? Does that mean that we as a church won't face challenges? Yeah. Does that mean we as ministers won't face challenges? You as members won't face challenges? No, we are evolving. We're all going to face the challenges, but we want the field to stay a space of support as we do that. So, our commitment to the Christ is greater than the challenges we face, and the challenges we face become less and less. The waves will still come and go, and we will allow them to pass without allowing them to change our knowing of who we are as God's child. We won't stop the ocean from churning, but it will churn, and we will rise with it and fall with it, but it will not change who we are as children of God. Everybody hearing me? All right. Any of you who have been on this path for any length of time have already journeyed through much of this and are still journeying. We're still journeying. And I truly respect the tenacity of anyone to hold to their faith and to relook at their faith and examine their faith and make their faith higher every day. Re-examine what you thought you knew. Re-examine what you believe. Make it higher, make it stronger, make it more real for you. And Spirit said, the soul that can stay on the path regardless of the trials, in the midst of the trials, are as honored, supported, and loved. Always. You know you are all experiencing some level of consciousness now. And these levels are not tests. They're experiences to help us grow. If we took the 4 seeds and just made truths out of them, they would be these. Your spirit knows where it is and where it's going. Your spirit is stronger than the challenges. Spiritual blessings far outweigh what mankind can offer you on a mortal level. And you're a child of God. And think of those 4 points. Can you feel them? I want you to feel your energy for just a moment. Just shut your eyes with me. And I want you to just imagine that you can feel your vibratory frequency, and you can imagine a swirling energy or see yourself on a ladder. I want you to see where you are today. And imagine now that Spirit can lift you up just a little bit so you can get a greater vision. See yourself in a vibratory frequency. Do you have it? A couple do. How about the rest of you guys? Can you see yourself in a swirl of energy or on a ladder somewhere? Everybody? Now look down. I want you to look down and see where you have come from. Do you see a different frequency? Yes. Is it long? Is there a long distance between you and what you can see? Does it feel different as you look at it? Now focus back on your frequency. Now look up. Look above you. Look above where you are. Can you see a different energy? Yes. And is it spinning at a different frequency? Is it a different color? Mm-hmm. Yes. And does it feel like some place you would like to be, to own? I want you to realize in this moment you stand in your evolutionary pattern, evolving your consciousness on planet Earth. And I want you to acknowledge and bless all that is below you. All that you have been through, bless it. Now thank where you are. I'm so grateful for where I am. It's beautiful. It may still have some crunches in it, but it's still good. And now look above. Imagine where you can be. And realize your journey is not yet complete. There is much, much more love that you can have on this planet. I want you to breathe it in. Breathe it in. And I want you to feel the angels and the love of God surrounding you and supporting you on this journey. I am ready to evolve. I am ready to become greater. Just breathe, gently open your eyes. Could you feel? Did anyone want to stay where you are?
No, I want to.
Could you see where you have come?
Yes.
Was that not a blessing to see?
Yes.
How far you have come, where you've come. All right. I absolutely honor and respect everyone that has been on this path for any length of time. And I wanted to share with you, you know you always get a Cindy story. So here's your Cindy story. So just so you know, in March 6, 1990, InnerQuest was started as a group. In April, I was ordained. In May, this guy joined the group. And he was kind of quiet, and he always wrote poems. So he would show up every Tuesday night with a flower and a new poem. The girls loved him. They loved hearing his new poem. And in January, we became an official couple, me and this quiet guy. He's not so quiet as he's evolved. That was 29 years ago. But in that moment, I was such a fiery, devoted, excited, committed being of light. God, I will do anything you tell me to do. Anything you tell me to do, I will do it. I was passionate. And my commitment never wavered. But my passion became disappointment quite often. You know, passionate people, we have great expectations. And I would be disappointed with my journey. And there would be this guy by my side who would say to me, "Don't ask anybody what to do, Cindy. God has always guided you. You need to go back to God." Did Jesus ask his disciples what he needed to do? He would say that to me all the time. He was this steady, 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 steady energy that kept the mission and the purpose and the light going. And neither one of us were perfect. We were in the rocks on many occasions. We were in the thistles on many occasions. But we kept out the commitment. We kept out the commitment. We never wavered. I don't think any one of you could know or understand. I wrote this down. The steady love and nurturing that Patrick has been to this church for 29 years. He has been this rock, and he would come in every day if his appointment book was filled or if it was empty. He didn't care. He was here and he was working. He was finding something to do. And it didn't matter how great it was, from cleaning toilets to prepping the service. He was here. And he has been the backbone of holding this field together. I'm throwing seeds out and he's digging the furrows to put So the quiet guy that wrote poetry began to become a light worker with such tenacity. I have not known anyone that could match that. So we would not be here without him. And today he's turning 70. The masters, the masters call that the arrival of the spirit man. So we have now great expectations of him. And I have asked just a few people to come and share their thoughts. So Bonnie's going to share first.
A lot of people can talk about Patrick as a minister and a healer, but I wanted to talk about Patrick as a friend. Patrick's known me since I came to work here as a part-time secretary back in 2002. After a couple years, he knew my husband and I were trying to build a house and not get divorced. And he showed up one Saturday morning saying, I just thought I'd come see what's going on, help out a little bit. That was my first time that Patrick showed up as a friend in my life. He came in and showed me how to finish walls so I could get ready to paint everything. And he knew I wasn't all that excited about building a house anymore, but he helped me get through that day and he stayed and worked with me. Thank you, Patrick. After a couple of years, my husband had a challenging situation with his health. And for 3 years, we went through surgeries and chemo and radiation. And Patrick showed up as the minister and the healer to be with my husband in the hospital from time to time and do whatever he could to support him, do Reiki and things like that. And I know he sent prayers for Mitch quite often. Well, after about 3 years, his situation stabilized and he was largely at home for 10 years. He could not leave the house and he was without sight and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, Patrick comes to me one day and he says, I'd just like to come out and visit with Mitch. And I said, well, you know he's not going to be quiet while you try to give him Reiki or anything. He's going to want to talk. And Patrick says, I think we just need to talk. And so every other week for 10 years, Patrick came to my house and he'd spend 2 hours with my husband listening to Mitch tell his stories over and over again. And they'd lie to each other a little bit. They'd aggravate each other a little bit. Talk about how, complex women were. They would do all type of things.
That was the lying part.
They would have a totally male conversation there. I would get out of the way because if I was there, it was never the same. But they would have a big time together. And that was huge because my husband had been isolated from the world of men that he lived in for 60 years. And to have a man come in and just treat him like another guy and have those guy conversations and things, that was just tremendous for Mitch. And those were the best parts of his days. And I just want to thank Patrick for the kindness and the time and the friendship for Mitch and for me. And when Cindy said, I need some people to speak, I said, Mitch is telling me to get up there and speak right now. So thank you so much for your friendship, Patrick.
All right. Thank you. Happy birthday, Patrick. Happy birthday, Cindy. Cheryl and I wanted to read a poem to you and just to celebrate and honor your birthday and you. Yeah.
Every one of your birthdays is a gift to the rest of us who have had the pleasure of having you in our lives for another year.
Every one of your birthdays brings joyful memories of your bright smile and your love of life.
Every one of your birthdays reminds us of your sensitivity and service to others, and other delights too numerous to name that we are gifted with just by knowing you.
Color, sound, crystal therapy,
Rohan.
meditation classes. Did I say crystal? Happy birthday to 1 in a million. May you and we continue to enjoy and celebrate these days.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
We are not finished.
Patrick, With an attic full of crystals, he's crazy with his Reiki, you can put away your pistols.
Meditate with him, and you go up just like a missile.
The man's good looking, even the fairies have to whistle.
Breakfast with the boys, just hear the skillet sizzle.
He's a cook who writes books and leaves no fish on the hook.
But he could meet you in the middle. He's sharper than a chisel.
Could help anyone with any of life's little riddles.
Through many types of travel, he has exercised his mental.
All the children thankful for a church so residential.
Let's do some color therapy and learn to keep it simple.
Aligning all of our chakras and teaching us to tend to our temples.
Happy birthday, Patrick, but be careful. Your liver's not a rental.
Thank you for that poem. That was awesome. So, you guys know I'm up here. We're gonna say something about Patrick. I'm a big wimp, so I'm gonna try to get through this nicely. You can tell the roots, if you're going off of her service, the roots that he brings. They're deep. That's all needs to be said.
So I thank God that you came, and you have been my teacher, my lover, my friend. More important than anything else, you were the one that could walk with me. And I'm telling you, you are the only one that could have walked with me. So if you'll stand up with me. So you guys, want you just to feel, did we surprise you? Okay, if we can all just sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Patrick. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all, and I couldn't do it without you. You guys.
They all came for you today, honey. So take in the love. This is the journey. Evolving, hanging together as a family, growing, finding our roots, being greater, and then taking moments just to say, yay us.